49th parallel. This is Americanuck Radio with Mike Filip.
Welcome back to Americanuck Radio. It's Friday. We've got the sober freaking one hanging out with us today. He's back in the green room. Probably looking in a mirror. Man, he's high on himself, this guy. Unfreaking believable. Greg, what? If you had one fault, if it's possible that you could think of something that's not great about yourself, what would it be?
I've told you a million times, conceit's a fault, and I have no faults. Mike, come on, man. Come on, man. Just that, let's just say amongst a million things that I'm an addictive personality.
23 years.
Oh, dude, some people aren't. Some people are. You know, addictive. Yep. I kid you not, I eat 2 bowls of ice cream every night. I drive my friends crazy because I don't, add a pound in weight.
Does it have to be 2?
Sometimes it's only 1. But then again, I have now and then I have 1 bowl of ice cream for the road.
Do you cheat
what I mean?
by having extra scoops in the 1 so you can say it's 1, but really it's the equivalent of 2?
But I'll tell you what, anniversaries are important to people, especially older guys like me, right? But, I've published this in the past, but I'd never talked about it till on the air with you a number of episodes ago. Episode number 42 today, man. It's we're getting to be old veterans here.
23
Dueling-Citizens. But yeah, 23 years ago, man, I had an epiphany. I was a car guy. I was a heavy drinker. Not a crazy person, but verging on it. I had 3 kids at home. I had 3 boys at home. And I joke, Mike, I do. I said, there's 2 things. There's an epiphany, because it really was. But it never even occurred to me since. Think about that, Mike. To really drink or anything, which is a miracle. But the epiphany happened. It really was from God and stuff. But also, I got to be really clear. The Washington State Patrol highly recommended they take a couple of years off drinking. Right?
Okay, it was like that, was it? Yeah.
But honestly, I mean it too. People very rarely. I only talked about this publicly a number of months ago. The epiphany came with, what am I going to do with 2 years on my hands? With all the regrets I have in my hands. I got 3 young boys, including twins at home, and I don't want to beat myself up too bad. I supported a family on my own, and we had, I still have a great family to this moment. But the epiphany was, what do I do with 2 years of my time? And it came that I was supposed to build an ice arena up in Bremerton, Washington.
That's the thing about chronic drinking is I was talking to a preacher in California the other day, and not just drinking, but anything else. He said, if you clean something out, it'll just automatically fill with something else. And he said, I call it the closet rule. This is David Ray, Pastor David Ray in California. I said, what's the closet rule? He said, just clean out a closet and go look at it 2 weeks later. It'll be full.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Like something will take the place of that. I, myself, Greg, I used to be a chronic drunk driver.
Oh, jeez. I was just thinking about that today. And I mean, dude, I don't know if you got a story or not, but I know you were. But just, and some of your listeners don't know that you were such a party boy, Mikey.
I played in rock and roll bands. I was a drummer. I was a lead singer. I got invited to the parties that people didn't know about. You know what I'm saying? Like
the after hours ones.
Yeah, stuff those? Like that. And so like, but I mean, even before that, I was, I had my own business, so I would go to a city about an hour away, and I would finish the job, and then I would buy a 15-pack, and I would have that 15-pack just about finished by the time I pulled into the town in an hour.
Sure.
Driving in my truck, right? And I was positive that I had the situation under control, and like I knew Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know when you're inebriated. So, like, I would be very deliberate and very careful and follow all the rules. And I thought, you know, people that get in accidents driving drunk, they're stupid. They don't know as much as I do. They're like, because, right? That was kind of my attitude, is like, I can do this, right? Well, that actually went on for a few years, actually. And then it happened. I was driving home with a friend from another city, and let's not make any mistake about it. I was drunk, but here's the thing: I had a power inverter sitting on the on the console of the truck, and it was wintertime, and we were coming into town, and this power inverter sitting on the console where our beers were. Fell onto the floor in front of my driver's seat. So I leaned down to get it, and I swerved, right? Because I was leaning down and I still had my hand on the wheel. Well, somebody behind me phoned the police, and they were waiting for me in town.
Oh, good sign when they're waiting for you.
They were waiting for me, and they followed me into the parking lot of the liquor store because I was going to restock.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was out from the drive. Now here's the other thing about the whole story is that I had a knockoff AK-47.
Oh, nice.
In the back seat.
Oh, yeah.
And about 1,000 rounds. In the truck. So
you're like the guy in the episode from Cops, right? You know, oh, by the way, you got a bunch of guns in your back seat.
I did, yeah. I had about 1,000 rounds of 7.62 in the back seat, and well, like next to it, right? And so they were kind of eyeballing that, and then so my truck gets impounded, and you've got to come and pick it up in about like 48 hours, and then you've got court after that, and that's where you get into the process of losing your license. And so I've got to go back to the police station and pick up my rifle and this ammunition, right? And so the sergeant says to me, and this is cop talk, of course, "I'm intrigued as to why you had the amount of ammunition that you did. And that specific rifle, it's not exactly a hunting rifle." He said, you know, like when we see that, we kind of think we are looking at somebody that's planning to do some damage. And I said, "I'm a member of the shooting club. It's nothing for me to go through 200 rounds in a trip. So you know what I mean? And I have no violent crime on my criminal record." So, I guess if there was something funny out of the whole thing is that I had to wait for my friend to come and pick me up. So I sat on the front steps of the police station for 20 minutes on the side of a very busy highway intersection, holding what looked like an AK-47 with a big pile of bullets beside me. And so I'm thinking, like, people probably were wondering, What's this guy doing? You know what I mean?
Dude, it's good you weren't in the States, man. Dude, you wouldn't have lasted 30 seconds. Come on. Wow.
Well, I got to say, it was odd for Canada. I mean, you'd think you would see something like that more readily in the United States, right? But that was on the Canadian side. And so, I was... Man, I was drunk all the time at one time in my life, and that's kind of how I lived my life. I was highly functioning. I got to work. I you know what I mean? But it was definitely a problem.
Rite of passage. People nowadays can't understand, Mike. It was a rite of passage. You know,
kind of, yeah. It was
how early you're drinking, whatever. I do want to say, and this obviously don't ever get into war stories, you know, as far as the old days and stuff. But you're bringing up this stuff, and we can have a serious episode.
Oh, it happened. That's who I was, right? Yeah.
But the one thing for sure, there is a difference between Canadian and drinkers and American, right? My Dueling-Citizens brand here, Mikey, and that's what this is what it is. Americans think they're drinkers. No, it's Canadians are drinkers. I kid you not, and it's a broad brush stroke, I'm sure,
Yeah. Yeah,
you've never been around drinkers. You've been around Canadian drinkers. We're sitting there. I remember in the pub in the Gretzky camp down in Scottsdale, Arizona. They were talking some war stories, and this guy he was from Edmonton, as a matter of fact.
Okay, lots of Albertans in Arizona. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Oh, I'll tell you what, and Washington State and everything. Yeah, it's a commute now. But anyhow, Edmonton guy, big high end Edmonton guy, and he was a hockey lover, so he was on the ice with us. But he was in the bar, and I don't know if he was telling Wayne or someone else, Paul Coffey or whatever. He said, I just don't understand drinking in the United States coming down here. And I think the sponsor of I can't believe it, the sponsor of the camp was actually a canceled name, Bud Light. But anyhow, this guy from Edmonton has said, I tried all last night to get drunk. Never know how to get drunk, but just a buzz. He said, and I'm talking 22, 23, 24 beers, right? American beers.
Yeah.
He said, no way. I said, that's it, man. I said,
well, they were like, what were they, like 3.5% to our 5?
Oh, sure. And Brador in Montreal, Brador by Molson was 6.0. We know when you were counting, right?
Yeah.
That we have experience in that. But I kid you not, I was wondering, over the last 42 episodes, I thought of this a lot. And again, I don't mean to bring my brand at all to war stories, because it's not. Because in the end, the whole thing is how God removes you from this.
Yeah, this isn't glorifying living that life at all. No, it was horrible. Yeah.
But Mike, if someone doesn't believe me that Canadians are different than Americans, I kid you not, true story. About a year, maybe two, after I got out of college, I went to college in Mohawk College at Hamilton, Ontario. It's where Jordan Peterson worked for a while, as a matter of fact. And met up with a buddy of mine. We were both kind of high rollers in the school. He was student council president. I was athletic committee president. We kept in touch even to this day. But we were sitting there, went into a college pub. And we were both career guys working for a living. I was a real estate guy. He was working for a big corporation in Toronto. Anyhow, we go in, and it's last call. Anyone who has been to a bar understands what last call is. Anyhow, it's last call. So Ted, the waiter calmly walks up, and Ted says, we'll have 48 drafts, right?
Yeah.
And the waiter said, of course, like, for who?
Yeah.
Ted pointed at me and said for him and for me.
Yep.
So negotiation ensued, because it was last call. They ended up bringing 2 trays, which is 24. And you haven't seen 2 more popular guys in the world, Mike Filip, till two guys in suits in a college pub with about 10 or 12 cold beers left over after last call. So there you go. There's my story for the year. I won't do it again in a Dueling-Citizens episode. How's that? But unfortunately, it brings up memories. But at the same time, to me, I just praise God every single day, because he took it from me 23 years ago, man. He just took it from me. So
that's fantastic. 23 years. That's great. And alcohol, they had all these lockdowns about COVID, and they are always warning people about climate change and this and that and the other. But a domestic dispute with alcohol involved is one of the worst things that a cop can walk into. You know what I mean? Because especially during the lockdowns, because they left all the liquor stores open, and people were locked in their homes, but they could order booze to their home. And I'm sure that it ruined more marriages than fights over vaccinations or anything else, to be honest with you, because 2 people that love each other, when passions are inflamed and alcohol gets involved, it can. I mean, how many lives have been destroyed because of that?
Well, every single episode you see, of cops or whatever, it's always alcohol infused.
Usually, yeah. A lot. Well, not a lot of times. Yeah. Definitely.
And unfortunately, let's not getting into the chats about prohibition and all this stuff, that. But bottom line, as you say, it's so mainstream. Alcohol not only is mainstream, but it's a billion, probably $1 trillion industry. But what a sham, because it just creates havoc in people's lives, no matter what. Yep. Again, big majority of people can drink. That's fine. But a good chunk of them can't. And the problem, and the thing that hit me is, guys like you and I, Mike, you and me, we have constitutions. we do have constitutions inside the crossing the line that people do, when things are wrong and things are right. And the one thing about alcohol that really bothered me, again, I was 41 when I stopped, is I was starting to cross the line of my constitution, maybe gambling on a football game or somewhere I really shouldn't have, or whatever. You cross your moral line, constitution-wise, when alcohol is involved. And what the message of the day for me is, whether it's one day, whether it's 23 years, whether it's 50 years, a lot more people have problems with alcohol than they let on.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I came out of the closet about alcoholism about a year ago. You were there. We talked about it on air, Mike.
Well, the other thing too is you've got these coolers, right?
Oh,
that are like loaded with sugar, like loaded.
Yeah.
And who drinks those is the girls.
Oh yeah,
and it just ruins them. Like it's like
opportunity alcoholism. Equal opportunity alcoholism.
Yeah, it's like an atomic bomb. It's like diabetes in a can. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So it's.
But the message is to people out there: if it really is haunting them, or they know underneath their skin that they got a problem.
Yeah,
because it's not everybody. I say it's a small percentage of people, but if you do, I just want to let you know you can stop. There's no way I would have had a shot at it, but other than the grace of God. And when you say by the grace of God go I mean I raise my hand. There's no way. So by the grace of God go we, Mike Filip, and to anyone out there.
Grace, brother, that's it. Yeah, let me give you a really good story. Okay, really good. This will make you feel good. Okay, it starts off horrible, obviously, but I have a friend. That I still stay in touch with. He's a miner, and he goes and works in gold mines in southern BC, and he's one of these guys that has been around mining for a long time. And he was just a horrible alcoholic years ago, you know what I mean, when we were all partying and everything. But like this guy, like, just to give you an idea here, okay? He had to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and chug a beer to go back to sleep, and then wake up at 6 in the morning and immediately had a mini fridge beside the bed. And that's the first thing he did was grabbed a beer and chugged it to get out of bed. Then this man would drink a 15-pack on his way to work, drink a 15-pack at work, and drink a 15-pack on his way home from work. Because him and his crew... They this is years ago when safety wasn't so stringent, and they were on a gravel crusher in the middle of nowhere, so they kind of had no supervision, and the company was happy with them because they were meeting all their quotas and everything, right? Well, they were partying at the job and getting things done, and just like me, the day comes, right? One of their guys got completely wrapped up in the machinery, and he had to go and call the police, and this man was dead. His skeleton was jello. He was wrapped up in a machine, right? And it was because they were all drinking at work, and so after that, he had started getting quite upset with himself in his life, but he still couldn't stop. And then because he drank so much, this is what a lot of people don't understand about really heavy alcoholism, is that if you stop cold turkey, a lot of times it'll kill you.
Oh yeah.
When it's that heavy, like he had to go into the hospital to stop, like literally, and he just about died, right?
Oh yeah.
But he's getting his pilot's license. He's an accomplished skydiver. He's got a very good job, owns a beautiful piece of property. Like his life is so thoroughly turned around. And he didn't even come to church or anything. He just, you know what I mean? God granted him the ability to turn his back on it. I'm still working on him. We still, I tell him about Jesus and invite him to church whenever he's in town. But yeah, like he was literally brought back from the point of death. Like if he quit drinking, it would make him sick. To the, you know what I mean? To the point where he was hospitalized to quit.
Oh yeah, when it gets to that point, you got to be really, really careful. You really do. The other big misnomer about alcoholism is a lot of people think, especially as they grow older, if they've quit drinking for X number of years. Because in the past, I remember I quit for I think 7 years at one point. What they do not realize, and this is really, studies have proven this over and over, if a true alcoholic, a clinical alcoholic, quits drinking for say 20 years and starts again, you know, the thought is, oh, you know, I took 20 years off, now I'm more controlled, blah, blah. No, they will start at 20 years exactly where they left off, Mike.
Really?
In a degenerative form. They'll be so quickly 10 years ahead of their age, I mean, chronologically. It's really amazing. Yeah, it's none of this like, hey, I'll maintain it as an older person. And I'm talking if you're a clinical alcoholic.
Yeah.
So that's the misnomer. If someone's quit for, because I remember I quit for 7 years, and I thought I had gotten more mature and a little bit older, and I think it was in my 30s that I started again. It was 48 hours, and I was off to the races again. Not criminal or anything, but just off to the races, driving with one too many or whatever, being too snarky at home, whatever. And it's just not a good thing. So, but you do pick up at like you had never quit in the first place, Mike. How's that for a stat?
Yeah. It's the same thing with smoking too. It's the same thing. Like if 10 years later, and that usually comes with you have a drink, and you got a buddy having a cigarette next to you, and give me one of those. Well, it's the next day you're a pack a day. Like you never quit, right? And it's the same thing. But that's interesting what you're saying about that time lapse and that being a thing. I've also been places that there was a guy that was a guitar player, and he was a really good guitar player. We were kind of scoping him out and scouting him to join a band that I was in. And his wife, it turned out, was a really bad alcoholic. And you could tell that, you know, she was getting a little bit older, but she was a very beautiful girl when she was younger, right? You could tell that she was, you know, probably a sexy little thing. And, you know, he's this rock and roll guitar, and they had a farm. He had loads of equipment and lighting and the whole bit. And we were thinking, this is perfect, right? Well, we go out there to practice or you know, jam with this guy, see where everybody's at, see if you gel and everything, right? Well, his wife, I felt so bad for him. I really did. I was embarrassed for him because we were all out in the yard and she had gotten just wasted inside of the house. And she opened the window on the top floor of the house and was shirtless.
Oh,
and was doing the whole, you guys, like the gross, sloppy woman drunk kind of a thing. And he was so ashamed, but he still loved her, I could tell, right? And, you know, I just thought, man, that's I felt bad for her. I felt bad for him. I felt bad for both of them. I really did because.
Well, it is. And I guarantee you, if she was sober, she wouldn't do that. It's like it's a black and white question, you know?
Yeah.
I do, you know, I do say as well, and I'm very pragmatic about this subject. And I literally have been through hundreds and hundreds of, whether it's counseling or one-on-one or mentoring on the subject, if you will, in 23 years.
Yeah.
And I talk about it a lot in my book, as a matter of fact. But I do believe that there's just a percentage of people, and people can argue back and forth on this. Experts are always wrong about stuff, Mike. But I think there's a percentage that are true chronic alcoholics. And we're talking high-maintenance drinkers like you're talking. I've never heard of anything like your buddy, you know, Mr. 15-pack in the morning guy. I can't believe that. But
I'm not exaggerating. It was 3 15-packs a day.
Yeah. Oh, no. I had an uncle. I had an old Irish uncle, I kid you not, who'd ate at 7:30 in the morning. He'd be standing on the beach when we're on vacation, you know, with his dress shoes on, his dress socks, and his shirt open. He's got a big old tumbler full of whiskey in his hand. You know, going, hey, dude, 7:30 in the morning. But I do believe that they're true chronic alcoholics, and it's a percentage of people. And I would say to people, you know, you're an alcoholic. Believe you're an alcoholic if you have to go check your car for damage in the morning or whatever. I'm talking.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that waking up and what did I do?
But I believe the majority, and honestly, I think the majority of folks, some can be heavy drinkers. There's a difference between heavy drinkers and alcoholics. And bottom line, heavy drinkers don't cross the moral line, the constitutional line, but they still drink a lot. Go back to Britain, go back to Germany and see if you can do that without drinking kind of thing, right? It's part of the culture. It's just part of the culture, Mike.
We're at commercial break time. You were at the Lucid Auto plant in Arizona. I want to talk a little bit about that because I've been doing some reading about that company, and what I've been reading is not flattering. The other thing that I want to talk about is I was looking at something that Captain James McCormick posted that you had commented on social media about people. I guess a kind of a stolen valor thing, people pretending that they got a Purple Heart. I have a few things I want to say about that because I've had some experience with that in the past too. When we get back on Americanuck Radio with the freaking sober Greg Meakin. And no, I'm really glad for you, man. I really am. That's awesome. Praise the Lord.
And we're not perfect. I say I'm like, consider me a 35-year-old used car. You got to take me with all faults. I ain't perfect. I have my challenges in my walk every day. But bottom line, I know there is a God. I know there is, because 23 years ago he took drinking away.
A 35-year-old used car.
That's right. With
a Lada.
As is, man.
A Pinto.
A bullet on wheels.
We'll be back after this, everybody.
You want to wake up refreshed, like you slept on a cloud? Get yourself the very best in bedding supplies today. You deserve it. Go to MyPillow.com, and don't forget our very special promo code, Mojo50, for incredible savings.
At Meakin Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Meakin Designs, and if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logo designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Meakin Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help you design and create that special gift for any occasion or engrave your personal or business logo on just about any product. View our designs at RoMikaDesigns.com or simply email us with your ideas. We specialize in custom design and would be honored to have the opportunity to discuss it with you. Call us at 817-400-4040, email info@RoMikaDesigns.com, or visit us on the web at RoMikaDesigns.com.
5 major food distributors have suffered explosions at food processing and storage facilities in the last few months. 20 more facilities have been destroyed by fires over the last 4 months. War in Ukraine drags on and holds the looming threat of nuclear escalation. U.S. inflation is officially reported above 8%. Mobs of people are whipped into frenzy by an increasingly unstable class of political elites. We live in interesting times. Political, economic, and financial collapse are all very real threats to our way of life. If the worst happens, make sure you and your loved ones are prepared with emergency food and supplies from preparewithmojo50.com. That's preparewithmojo50.com. Coffee lovers everywhere now have the opportunity to do their part to save the planet with Al Gore's lab-grown coffee substitute. We, here at Coffee Drinkers for Climate Change, believe this is a terrible idea. While man-bun-wearing, soy latte-loving poodle walkers everywhere are in love with the eco-friendly lab-grown sadness water, Coffee Drinkers for Climate Change want to see the sea levels rise, and for New York City to join the lost city of Atlantis, 12,000 leagues beneath the sea.
American Pride Roasters, historically great coffee. Every pot brewed is an eco-disaster 100 times greater than the Fukushima extinction level event. So order yours today and do your part to hasten the end of the planet. You don't want to live forever, do you? AmericanPrideRoasters.com. That's AmericanPrideRoasters.com.
How dare you?
We dare. We dare.
Flat
The moon landing. JFK. 5G. Biden won the election. Hey, lovelies. Does anyone have any new conspiracy theories? Because all the ones I know have come true. Join me, Ria Bow, here on Sunday Long Live Radio. Live every Sunday of the year, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard, 10 a.m. UK, and 9 p.m. New South Wales. I'll see you Sunday.
Americanuck Radio.
I would say the world's most underrated radio shows. Americanuck Radio. This guy, Mike Filip, is brilliant. I listen to him every day. Love your show. I really do. I'm a huge fan. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Americanuck Radio.
Wanga!
Well, God loves the outlaw, but he doesn't love the sin. Well, God loves the outlaw, but he doesn't love the sin. Just open up your heart to Jesus to surely let you in.
Americanuck Radio.
Well, God loves the outlaw.
We're back to Americanuck Radio, and before we get going on the next topic here with Greg, there's something that I want to mention about our previous conversation, and that is this. Jesus will love you first. He will love you first. Okay? While we were yet in sin, Christ died for us. And that you know, what I was talking about from before, now I have a way more exciting life. Let me just tell you that. We've got people just coming out of the woodwork. I'm not even having to go and talk to people. I like to do that, but they're coming to us now. The Holy Ghost is leading them to us, and we've got a big service plan for Sunday out at a garden on the edge of town, and we're going to get into the new wine. Thank you for that that post that you made in there, Bo, and Jesus can do anything with your life. You don't have to be what you are now. You can be a new creation, born again. Like you joined the French Foreign Legion and they gave you a whole new name and a whole new background. The old man is gone. I know that's not a great comparison, but Jesus will love you first. Let me just tell you that right now. And if he calls you to repentance, there's nothing that he can't do in you. Greg, you were at the Lucid Auto plant in Arizona. Where is that? And just talk about that a little bit, because there was a conversation on the Daily Mojo this morning, and I actually found it quite intriguing, which I don't usually find on the Daily Mojo. But they were in a good zone today. But good job, Ron and Brad. So just talk about being at that plant. You spoke to one of the workers there. Talk about it a little bit, Greg.
Sure. Just real interesting. It's so funny how just a quick post on Facebook, by the way, that was a by the way post.
Yeah.
Took a quick little photo because this is in Casa Grande, Arizona. I don't know about investors out there who want a hot tip, but I'll tell you what, Casa Grande, Arizona is getting to be a big place as far as I say industrial. It's becoming a hub. It's right on the intersection of Interstate 8 and Interstate 10. It sounds big, and it is. And there are little teeny companies like Walmart who have done, it looks like, either regional or world headquarters there, Mike. I mean, massive. So I'm driving by and say, and this is literally, we had relocated down here to Arizona City from the Seattle area, I think you know, Mikey, about 3 years ago and 3.5 years ago. And this is actually brand new. Deborah and I will do drives kind of around the desert and around through. It's just a wonderful place down here, of course, Arizona sunsets and stuff. But I drove by and say, wait a minute, is that a Lucid plant? I mean, kid you not, like almost out of nowhere. I'm talking the last 12, 18 months. And so I looked, and of course, I'm an old car guy. People don't realize I'm not a radio guy. I'm an author and an old car guy, and I'm not a politics guy, but people keep asking me about it. So I'm a car guy, so I pull up and I take a couple of photos. And I'm interested because I'm the old 100,000-foot view guy I was since I published my first book about the auto industry, where I did predict a number of changes that came to fruition in the car business. So I'm saying, okay, what's going on here? And it was definitely world headquarters, which surprised me. I mean, if it's not, it's this side of the world headquarters. And this was a massive plant. I mean, massive. And the thing that surprised me was there were it had to be thousands of cars parked. I mean, in storage. I mean, thousands.
Just outside in the sun?
Oh yeah, dude. And they were covered up with their plastic at the top, but not the full cover or anything. And I noticed, and I'm saying, wait, there's thousands of cars. Car guy will say, boy, that's a lot of inventory.
Oh, we just lost Greg. He is totally gone. Greg is like, he is gone, like completely and utterly gone.
Spotless clean, very little crime, Seattle Seahawks. It was fun, beautiful. And I've verified, I've corroborated it is just a grease fire up there right now, Mike.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of that. Yeah.
I told a deputy down here in Arizona, I said, there's a no pursuit law by cops up there. I don't know if it's township-wise or regionally. No pursuit. So a cop standing there and guy robs a bank, starts running off. Oh, I don't know. It's on a bank.
They're not allowed to chase him?
No chasing. No chasing, no vehicle pursuits. Hello?
I would like to say that sounds crazy, but it actually sounds normal right now. And what I'm hearing is that whole things when it really went down after that whole Chaz Chop zone or whatever it was.
I wrote about that, Mike. I mean, it's weird. People can go back on my writing 2 years, 3 years, and they say, wow, because I wrote extensively. It's still on my website about Chaz and Chop. I said, here we go, right? Because I was looking at Seattle real closely. And it's just awful. I mean, it's awful up there right now, and I've corroborated that. Bottom line, it breaks my heart because it doesn't have to be.
Do you remember when they tried to start a garden in Chaz Chop and they put a half an inch of topsoil on a 2x4 and they were wondering why they couldn't grow a garden?
Okay. And they were excluding races.
Yeah, it was the perfect society.
We're inclusive, but no whites allowed. Really progressive like that, Mike. What breaks my heart seriously is you're saying it's becoming normalized.
Yeah, that's normal.
We never used to hear stuff like this. And honestly, as recently as 20, 30 years ago, the entire media and everyone else would be disgusted with this and wouldn't be happening. So what's happened is I don't know. That's another show. But goodness gracious, our cities are. People forget. Everyone talks about. We talk about these riots and George Floyd and stuff in the past few years, and people forget. In 2016, our cities almost burned because Donald Trump was elected president.
Yep.
You remember that?
Yeah, it was like January 6th across the nation.
Oh yeah, no one talks about the Trump riots in 2016 election. Check YouTube.
Yeah, that January 6th thing, I'm so tired of hearing about it. I was hearing about it this morning, and I thought, I remember when, all these riots were happening all over the nation. They have very quickly forgotten about that, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, will we see a change? I don't know, but I believe the tipping point, we always come back to this, I think, is the 2024 elections.
I think, though, I'll be okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you prepare plan A or B either way, right?
I pray in the morning.
We're only answerable to God, and we know we're good, but we still have to live in this big, bad world. So you go plan A, plan B. I was very, very, people have very short memories. I was very concerned, as were a lot of people. I think you were too, Mike, maybe to a lesser extent, but really concerned when Hillary Clinton was almost, anointed president of the United States.
I was concerned, actually, and I was on election night. I was talking to friends of mine. There's a man on the Denver, Colorado Fire Department, and he was telling me that when Trump was elected, he said to me, I've never, ever been more proud of my country. Everybody was so afraid that Hillary was going to be president because they thought that what's happening now would happen.
Well, and people forget, Mike. The original point was we believed in our heart this was a tipping point, and it turned out to be. We would not known anything of the deep state and everything that's going on in the last couple of years. But it was a tipping point, and I saw people, public people like me, like you. I mean, I went for the first time, quote, public in 2015 in July when I jumped into politics, and I wrote at a controversial time, a very early time, the top 10 reasons why Donald Trump will be president. There were still 17 other Republicans in the race. Hillary was guaranteed, I called it an anointed, coronated presidency. So I had people, Mike, people forget Trump was way behind in the polls and everything else. And I had people literally calling me almost in tears on election night because it didn't look good, early in the night. And I had a guy, seriously, this guy was a general manager for a dealership, came up to me and says, please tell me that Trump has a chance to win. And I'm talking, I think this is the majority of Americans. Don't let the media tell you differently. And I said, no, just wait till the end of the election. Just wait till tonight. And it turned out it was true.
Do you want to hear something funny that my brother told me? Was that his pastor in a Pentecostal church about, what would it be now? Back before anybody thought that Trump would run for president. And you got to understand, these are people that have never owned a television in their life. Like, to them, it's a sin to even own a TV, right?
Sure.
But before anybody knew that Trump would even run, his pastor one time in church said, I don't know why, I just keep getting it in my head that billionaire dude, Donald Trump, is going to be president someday. He said it like during Obama's first term, I think.
Right. What's weird, it felt as existential. I know Rush Limbaugh really, when Trump decided to run, because I've written this a million times, I wasn't a Trump fan. I've been analyzing him since 1985. I implemented a number of his business principles and stuff since 85, long before he was going to run, but he wasn't my kind of guy. And when I published it, I've told you this on the air, Mike, I got so much guff, an old Canadian word, for publishing that first piece, top 10 reasons Donald Trump will be president. I was blocked and unfriended by all my liberal friends back east. But I wrote another piece about less than a month ago that said, okay, 5 more reasons why Donald Trump will still be president. And if anyone hadn't blocked me at that point, they did. But I do believe, I really believe, I didn't think I was going to be chatting about this, but I do believe this is real scriptural. I feel kind of a quickening happening. I feel that there's a wave towards 2024, that we're going to see a lot, and it's going to be a tipping point, and I don't know, but all I'm saying is the glass is half full. I am staying American and pro-freedom, pro-First Amendment, pro-Second Amendment, hoping for a new administration and an adjustment back in the country, back to, as I say, 1950s handshake world. So back to you on that, Mikey.
So when we lost you, we were talking about Lucid, and I remember thinking to myself, what a gay name for a car manufacturer, the Lucid. Oh, what do you drive? I drive a Lucid, like you're on barbiturates when you say it. Like, what happened to the Chevy Guts Eater, or the, you know what I mean, the Predator, right? You're
going to take me right to being the car guy here. Remember, you did that on the air with me, and I'm saying Lucid. And I'm saying, in the old days, seriously, like 30, 35 years ago, we were real conservative. It was, like you say, big, beautiful brands. And if we heard back then that there'd be companies, even their online companies, called Vroom, that sounds like a second grader, dude.
Yeah.
The Carvanas, the whatever. It's just, again, the Lucid, I've heard kind of pro and con on that name. But indeed, just like our culture and our society, our branding is getting soft and going soft too, Mike. I think it really is.
Everything. And the other thing, too, I was thinking about this. This is kind of a different topic, but not really. My son turned 29 yesterday, and we had him over for breakfast. And we were talking about just driving in general. And I was telling my son, make sure you give the guy in front of you lots of room so that you have time to brake and really pay attention, because a half a second of losing focus could turn into, like with insurance rates the way that they are right now, getting into an at-fault accident could really hamper you in the future. So I was just telling him, it's not like it used to be. I said, but I did mention him because I remember this when I was younger. You had people that would watch in their rearview mirror to see if you lost focus for a second, and they would deliberately slam on their brakes so that you rear-ended them, and I got whiplash, and sue you, right? And that people gaming the system is a large reason why we are where we are today with insurance rates and the unaffordability of driving.
Everything's getting unaffordable, but what I didn't realize down here when I came to the States in '83, I didn't understand the difference when it comes to insurance rates. Is there's two things: either no fault insurance or fault/liability.
That's it.
And I didn't know the difference. And up in Quebec, they'd gone with no fault, where you're not. It's just, Mike, no one's at fault, right? You just each your insurance company pays your own car. So what happened, this was way back in Quebec, but what happened, you have a rash of guys driving $500 cars, right, $200 cars.
Yeah.
Because if you get in an accident with a Mercedes, doesn't matter, you just got to replace the $200 car, the poor Mercedes guy, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Stuff.
Or a Land Rover.
I would always say,
yeah.
I would always say whether it's insurance or anything else, privatize. Meaning go as much private sector as you can, competition, just like in the States, cross state lines, do things where, bottom line, it would make it affordable for the consumer. Because everyone's getting priced out of the market, Mike, with housing and insurance and everything else.
We got our power bill for last month, Greg. It doubled. I'm not joking. We were paying about $130 previously. During the summer, that is, with low usage. Sure. Last month, it went to $280. So we had to go find an alternative provider, and we got a better deal. But, imagine the shock of all of a sudden you have a $280 power bill. And that's in the summertime, Greg. Like, people aren't inside, and you don't have the furnace running. You don't have, you know what I mean? Like, I have my, during the day, I've got my board and my computer on. That's it, $280.
Oh, it highway robbery, you know, and it's north and south. But no matter what, remember me, 100,000-foot view is no matter what, it comes down to the inflation factor, and of course regulation, these crazy enviro regulations and stuff, and carbon tax and all this stuff. But it comes down to inflation, and I'm just saying, cold hard numbers. I don't know how it's affected folks out there, both in the States or in Canada or elsewhere. I've got relatives in Britain, Australia, Germany. But I was able to, because of COVID, we've been the COVID lockdowns and stuff. We talked about this, Mike. I've been able to really put a scale. Okay, what's cost of living been, right at COVID or post-COVID, and what is it today under the Joe Biden administration? And I don't know what the number is out there for folks, but I'm telling you what. Since Joe Biden got elected, our monthly absolute costs have gone up $1,000 plus.
Yep.
$1,000 a month plus is a lot to anyone on a budget. Never mind a pension or a disability or whatever. $1,000 a month is a lot of money. So I'm seeing a difference. I know people are seeing a difference. And in any other media time, both north and south, they'd be looking to impeach a president just because incompetence as far as the economy and inflation. It's a Jimmy Carter, but it's a Jimmy Carter
It's
era,
ridiculous, yeah.
but on steroids.
Yeah,
so
it is ridiculous.
Everyone's praying for a change. Don't let the media tell you. Two-thirds of Americans and Canadians are sick of this, Mike.
Yep.
And we want change. So
and I'll tell you what, thank you, Jesus. ABC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 says, "Hi, parable of the sower, read about the weeds, concerns of the world will choke out your faith. Oxygen keeps a fire raging, no oxygen puts your fire out." Yeah, I've preached that, actually. I teach Bible studies for 2 hours every day and preach an hour on Sundays. And today I'm talking about current events. So, but don't worry, I don't sit around obsessing about Trump every day, whoever you are. And so is it okay with you if one day I talk about something different? Is that all right? Thank you. It also says, by the way, that cares and worries of this life will choke out the word and you will become unfruitful. And the branch that does not bear fruit gets cut off. And so I have been working on winning souls this morning, and we're going out to a garden on Sunday where there's a young man that is ready to get filled with the Holy Ghost and baptized in Jesus' name. So we're still bearing fruit, and I didn't mean to be a jerk to you, but we do a lot of Bible study on a regular basis on this show, and regular listeners know that. So, but thank you for throwing that in. We have to go to a network break.
Mike, you and I, males are males, competitive males, and I kind of like it when you get chippy like that a little bit, you know? But it's true. You know, all you have to do, we've had this episode before, all you have to do, whether you take someone seriously, is just read their code name, their secret code name. You read like 12 consonants there on the person's name.
That's the name they put on it. I use my real name. We got to go. If you're listening on Mojo 50, we'll be back right after network news and station identification.
This is the seditious, rabble-rousing, liberty-loving, home of fun, entertaining, and compelling talk. Mojo 50.
They fear more victims are in Hawaii's charred wildfire ruins. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. 1,000 people still unaccounted for. 55 are confirmed dead.
It does appear like a bomb and fire went off.
Governor Josh Green says Lahaina's gone. The town burnt down, over 1,000 houses and buildings destroyed.
All of those buildings virtually are going to have to be rebuilt. It will be a new Lahaina that Maui built.
Amanda Cassidy's upset. They got no warning, no alerts, telling Fox.
The fire started just behind my house, maybe a half a block away.
She had only minutes to leave and has nothing to go back to.
We lost everything. My house is flattened. There's nothing to go back to. I lost 2 vehicles, a moped.
Thousands of residents now in shelters. More than 10,000 tourists have left the island. More Republicans are signing the required party pledge to back whoever the nominee is to qualify for the first debate in 12 days. Tim Scott joins 4 others signing it. Former Vice President Mike Pence just told Fox Digital he'll also sign it the day after saying at the Iowa State Fair.
The former president asked me to choose him over my oath to the Constitution. I chose the Constitution, and I always will.
Defending not blocking President Biden's election certification the day of the Capitol riot, January 6th. The former president's been criminally charged for trying to stop that. And there's a hearing today as the special counsel asks the judge for a protective order to limit Trump comments about evidence and witnesses. He claims they're trying to silence him.
Next week, the attorneys representing former President Trump on charges of conspiring to overturn the 2020 election are expected to object to the government's proposal that the trial be held on January 2nd, less than 2 weeks before the Iowa caucuses. The former president objected to the idea in a post on Truth Social, saying the trial should only take place after the 2024 election, quote, if at all.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. We just got another inflation update showing prices on the wholesale level rose a bit more than expected last month, up 0.3%. America's listening to Fox News.
We remind all of our listeners that the views and opinions of the show hosts and guests appearing on Mojo 50 Radio are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Cuddle Me Buff LLC, its owners and partners, or this network. Thank you for listening to Mojo 50 Radio.
I'll bet you've noticed there are food shortages happening just about everywhere. If you think it'll get worse before it gets better, don't get caught unprepared to feed your family. Prepare with Mojo50.com.
Recently discovered in a small subsection of the Green New Deal, the United States Air Force is moving away from conventional explosive ordnance.
Being considered to replace these terrible weapons are more ecologically friendly weapons, such as cat coolers, to be used like anvils in a Wile E. Coyote cartoon.
Recently declassified audio from deep inside Cheyenne Mountain.
General, come quick. The Chinese have taken over the island beachhead. What should we do?
Release the cat coolers! The first cat cooler dropped, activated a volcano on impact. The cooler still has ice in it and was used as a life raft by 26 island refugees.
China has signaled their unconditional surrender, and it is anticipated that the cat cooler will never again be used in such a destructive way.
What? China surrendered, G.I. Joe! No more drop a cat cooler! No coolers were harmed in the making of this ad, but the island is a total loss. Cat Coolers does not recommend dropping coolers from planes, but the video is really cool, and it's still illegal to smuggle a cat into New Mexico.
After a long, hard dark night. I am exhausted. I need something that will stimulate me. That's why I start each day with Ron's sexual chocolate. It really gets me off to work. Find the flavor that stimulates you and gets you off to work at AmericanPrideRoasters.com.
2 seconds. Here we go.
With great mojo comes great responsibility. Mojo 50.
And crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Americanuck Radio. News, opinion, and a little irreverence from both sides of the 49th parallel. This is Americanuck Radio with Mike Filip.
Welcome back to Americanuck Radio on Mojo 50, WBN 324, Stu Peters Network, Rumble, iTunes, Spreaker, all over the place. I was a trained newsman. I went to broadcast school in 1985 with my father when he was going, and then I grew up in radio stations, and I went back in 1995 myself. I became a news director, and I was a news junkie. I was angry all the time, pacing around. If I wasn't mad at Barack Obama, I was mad at Newt Gingrich or John McCain, or there was a never-ending list of things to blame my problems on. But it came down to if you're drain your own swamp. Drain your own swamp. Start with yourself, the guy in the mirror. That's who needs to be dealt with first and foremost before you can do anything for anybody else. And I was always thinking I was going to change the world by exposing the evil. You know what I mean? I thought, man, if I can just get enough people to wake up, then everything will be fine. You know, it'll all be good. We'll go back to the gold standard. Ron Paul will bring the troops home. We'll end the foreign wars, and it'll be all over. And you know, I got several affiliates. We were on GCN, Genesis Communications Network, when Americanuck Radio started, and I was kind of in the loop with, people, the prominent names in Red Pill Super Patriot sphere of influence. And now that so many people are woke to the political situation, I see people that are Red Pill Super Patriots that are every bit as unhinged as the people that they claim to dislike for being liberals or whatever the case might be. And I thought to myself at one point when I saw everybody with basically the same political motivations or the same interests per se, attacking each other and backstabbing each other and talking badly about one another, I thought to myself, what did I do? Right? And so I got away from that. Once in a while, we engage in talking about the present situation in the world. But let me tell you, if you stay full of the Word, if you keep your faith up and stay topped up with the Holy Ghost, let me give you a little story. When the church here started, and I did not plan on it, I did not plan on being a pastor. That was not my plan. I just didn't see it. But during the lockdowns, God got a hold of me, and I started teaching Bible studies, and people just started coming. They were just, all of a sudden during the lockdowns, we had a house full of people. And we weren't pretending, we weren't hiding it. When you saw pastors getting dragged off to jail, James Coates had Grace Life or whatever it is in Spruce Grove. That's like 20 minutes away from me. I know Artur Pulaski. A lot of my friends that were guys that were heavily involved with organizing or just involved with influencing with the Freedom Convoy and all that. I know a lot of them. And we were having church. And you know, we had as far as worrying about the situation around you, we had a 20-foot trailer with thousands of dollars worth of groceries showing up here during the lockdowns. So, like, people were coming here for church and get the Word of God and feel the presence of the Holy Ghost. And they were going home with like $700-800 worth of groceries. I've never seen anything like it. So, yeah, worrying about things in the world, it's one thing to discuss it, but letting it get into you and getting a root of bitterness inside of you, it doesn't do any good. It just doesn't. I lived there for a long time. That was my bag. And so I am a one God, apostolic, tongue-talking, Jesus' name baptism, Acts 2:38, preacher. Sometimes I'm a teacher. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Whatever the Holy Ghost leads. And we've seen God do absolutely tremendous, fantastic things here. So on Fridays we have Greg on. Lots of times I will deliberately schedule something else so I can throw on a replay and avoid Greg. But today we're back. So Greg,
I'm the guest that doesn't take a hint, right? I keep coming back. I kid you not, Mike. I kid you not. Years ago, I had an old car salesman come up. I was returning to a car dealership after a few years. He says, Meakin, you're like a bad marriage, man. You just won't go away. You just won't go away. So I'm back at Dueling-Citizens with Greg freaking Meakin on Fridays. I do want to seriously, though, because we do talk about this, Mike. I do reach out to your audience. I love your audience. And they're good people, and a lot of them are in contact with me and stuff. And I do say, as my common theme is, Fridays take a couple hours to be Dueling Citizens, to be a little bit lighthearted, talk about issues of the day, and the other 6.5 plus days a week, 24/7, really. We, like Mike does, preach the word of God, convert folks over to, convert the lost lambs, the lost coins and stuff. But we do live in a big, bad world out there. It's a fallen world out there. And I don't want to be caught without at least knowing about it. And again, knowing the stuff, really perfect synopsis here is we don't just talk about stuff. We talk about cool stuff, Mike. We talk about cutting edge stuff. We talk about really edgy and, inside scoop stuff. So it's good, bottom line. It's good, entertaining radio. And your listeners are the first to tell us. I love hearing from Matthew. Love hearing from Peyton. All those guys are great. You got Bone, Oklahoma down there. You got the whole gang chatting in Alabama, Maryland, and High River, on and on. They're really, really good people. And
they're awesome.
As I say, forgive me. I'm always the bad influence, right, on my neighbors. So forgive me for tying you up for a couple hours here, but it's always a blast. I always look forward to it, Mike. It really does. It moves me, and I learn stuff too. I learn stuff, and most of our episodes end up on my YouTube channel in clips, and they're memorable. They've got a lot of attention and stuff over the years, so, or at least the last year and a half or so. So there you go.
Speaking of inside baseball, you were saying that you had some things that your friend Sheriff Mark Lamb down in Arizona there is involved with. What's going on with him? He's a pretty likable guy. He's a likable guy. What's going on with Sheriff Lamb?
I really do. I gush over him because I'm full disclosure. I say I voted for this guy long before I knew him. He was my kind of guy, period. It's just, when the product's right, Mike, you just consume the product. He's a great guy. He's the real deal. Everything you see is true from this guy. And he's what I think law enforcement used to be.
Yeah, and they lost their son to a drunk driver just a little while ago here. Are they doing all right with that? I mean, obviously
it's heartbreaking, but I'll tell you what, and I told them this. Mark and Janelle, I've never, you can't ever imagine losing a child, and praise God, I've never had it. But I told them, and I said this from minute one. I mean, they had a tough couple of days ago. It was only a few days before Christmas, Mike.
Yeah.
and they lost their son. He was 21, 22 at the time, and then of course lost the baby daughter, who was 11 months old, and then a few days later lost the fiance, and Carolyn. And anyhow, I said, I've never, and I mean it in my life, Mikey, I've never in my entire life, I've known a lot of people in my life, I've never seen anyone like Mark and Janelle Lamb, how they responded to that and how they looked to God. I've never seen that they were speaking positively, trying for Cooper's life, to be obviously a positive message. He was such a positive kid. He had just got out of trouble, like all of us, Mikey. But so bottom line, Mark and Janelle, I told them, you've survived it like no one I could ever seen in my entire life. And he verified that. So praise God to him. But you've never seen a busier couple, because they're a team, than someone running for the U.S. Senate, and also, by the way, running Pinal County, Arizona. And he's an active guy. And the quote Inside Scoop, I chatted with him this morning, and I said, have you anything to, for the listeners today? I'll be on with Pastor Mike. And he said, number one, big, huge issue, 40,000 illegal crossers last month in the Tucson sector alone. This is a wave that his deputies and no one can do anything about, Mike. So there's some truth right there. 40,000. That's bigger than most small towns around the country.
Yeah, that's more people than the suburb I live in. Yep.
Oh, dude, and projections. We're hearing numbers now. My number was 8 million under the. It's simple math here. Okay, how many illegal crossings under Biden? 8 million. I was projecting, and I'm hearing bigger numbers than that. We're talking, if it's 8 million, we're talking about almost the population of Los Angeles and Chicago combined, Mike Philip, combined, of people largely that we don't even know. We won't even get into the child trafficking because there's tens and thousands. I think it's just exceeded 100,000 of kids. We have no idea where they are, Mike. We have no idea where they are. So Sheriff Lamb, and I mean this is if this goes out to anyone out there that is concerned about their freedom and safety out there and stuff, I'll tell you what, Sheriff Mark Lamb, in his pursuit of the Senate, he wants to make change. He wants to make change because I'm just saying, this is Greg Meakin. This is virtual treason against the American population, what's happening down there. But the message is that there has to be change. It has to be changed yesterday. And that was his message. And other than Washington, D.C., for sure, needs, as he calls it, a proven conservative fighter. And that is full-blown plug here, Sheriff Lamb for Senate.com. Tell you what, it's a crazy world, especially with the Democrats, how they fundraise. It's just brutal political world out there, Mike, with fundraising.
Well, but just let me cut in here with a guy like Sheriff Lamb and his sheriff department. It's one thing to talk about what's happening at the border, but when you're actually a first responder and you're having to deal with truck trailers full of people that have died of heat exhaustion and thirst and things like that, because that's the stuff that they see.
Well, yeah, I'm telling you, yesterday, I was chatting with one of the sheriff's deputies.
Yep.
And that's actually why I texted Mark this morning. I said, hey, great guy. These kids out there who are protecting us are great guys, Mikey. Okay? You call 911 in the United States of America, you're going to have people to take care of you. Okay? So don't let the media tell you differently.
Not always. I will say.
I know.
Anyways,
I know. Nothing's 100%.
I'm not a cop hater. I'm not naive either.
Toronto Maple Leafs might win a Stanley Cup again. You never know. What is it? Clock's right twice a day. Here we go. But either way, the message that this deputy, and I mean, he was chatting really nicely with Deborah and I, and he said the big change that he's seen, okay? Here's boots on the ground, secrets from the inside, is the majority of these illegals now coming through, and I'm talking coming through the county, are armed. That's the secret.
Yeah, there's videos of military equipment being hauled through the
Don't let anyone tell you differently. Joe Biden turned the border over, the southern border of the United States over to the cartel. Don't let anyone tell you differently.
Yep.
Cartel is earning $12,000 to $15,000 a head. For everyone crossing, they don't have a dime, so they just have an IOU to the cartel, 10, 12, 15 grand a head, and they got to repay that. And when they get on the U.S. side, they go under the radar, obviously, like 100,000, whatever the number is, and they got to repay that debt. So they do via drug trafficking, prostitution, human trafficking. So they got to repay that debt. That's the old mobster days. This makes Al Capone in Chicago look like a lightweight monkey. This is a disaster down here. So if there's a message, I didn't think I was going to relay this passionately, but I got that from Mark Lamb today, and I got it from the sheriff yesterday.
Yeah,
one of the deputy sheriffs. This is a grease fire down here, and we need to change it. We need to change it.
Well, and again,
it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be like this.
No, it doesn't. But again, let me just say this, okay? If you look at just things within America and where people's hearts and their minds are at. Let's just take one aspect, porn traffic on a regular basis. People that just, they don't want anything to do with God whatsoever. Maybe they're a nice person, but they just don't want to be obedient to their Creator anyway. Like the Bible, and it always comes back to this with me, Greg. It says that the heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord, okay? So it is my belief flat out that God is in control, that he is, but a nation will get the leadership that you don't want me? Okay, here you go, right? And if you look at with this whole illegal crossing thing, this proves what happens to a nation when they fall away from God. I mean, it's in Deuteronomy 28. It says, I will bring a nation upon you from afar, whose language and tongue you will not understand. They will have no regard for the young nor the old. This is like the Bible says this will happen to a nation that fills up the cup of the wine press. You know what I mean? The cup of wrath is getting full. He said this would happen. Now, another thing too, respectfully, with Sheriff Lamb and their situation with their son, I've seen this over and over again. We've had so many suicides, and that's not what happened to this young man.
Right.
But I try to keep this in mind, that I don't know what the day is going to bring, and I don't know what is going to come over the next phone call. What information I'm going to get about possibly something happening with somebody I love. And I think about Abraham. I do. I think about how great this man was, that in obedience to God, he was willing to offer up his son. Now, do I have that kind of faith? And the other thing too, if let's say I did lose one of them, because I have two sons, right? Would it destroy my faith if that happened? Like that's what I put that on me, Greg. That's me talking about myself and my necessity to pray in the Spirit in the morning, because you don't know what's going to come over that next phone call at 3:00 in the afternoon. Do you know what I'm saying? That's where my head is at with it. I try to be prepared for that stuff in advance. Because that's where faith is, right? That's one place.
Well, it's an eternal question that if anyone says they've got an easy answer, because I fight it every day. How strong would your faith be? I can't even imagine. And I don't overrate myself. I don't know what it'd be like to lose a son. I just don't. And so when you say, the Job thing, could I be a Job? I don't know. But honestly, praise God, we only need to find out about that when it happens. Thank God, because nothing's happened yet. There's nothing to worry about yet until it's happened. And faith is knowing that the answer is already there.
And that's why you need to get close today when it seems like things are good and we're comfortable today. You know what I'm saying? That's where that's actually a dangerous place where everything's comfortable and good, because that's where you can get knocked off that little perch you're on.
it's macabre, but I've said this so many times on the air, Mike, and I just figured out something to help me cope every day, and that was just this. And again, might be macabre, but okay, if today was my last day on Earth, right? If I died today, like tomorrow, like it happened to dozens of my relatives and friends, would I be okay with that? Would there be bridges that needed to be mended? Would there be things on my to-do list that I didn't get done? Is my spirit okay? I watched my brother, I've told this story, my brother lose his life real quickly to pancreatic cancer, and I watched him fade away in the course of a week or two.
A week or two? That's how fast it was?
Oh, dude, it was just a few months. It was just so fast, and but tragic. But I watched him in the last. I wrote about this in my book.
Yeah.
That to watch him go through his to-do list of things that he felt short on in life, and so I guess if it's a glasses half full pursuit that I have of life, I just honestly every day, Mike, I just want to try and bring it. I've had days where I couldn't physically, mentally, emotionally bring it. I just try to bring it. As Jordan Peterson says, bring a little adventure in your life. You'll feel good if you've got adventure going. Just do it. And I'm as lazy procrastinator as any human being out there. But maybe the only thing I agree with Nike on is just do it and keep moving forward. Like you say, Mikey, clean your own room. It's so Jordan Peterson, but it's so true. Get your own ducks in a row and stuff, and all of a sudden, magically, the world looks better and better things happen. So there you go. I don't know if that was a rant or a monologue, but isn't it so true, though? We've got to just work on it every single day.
We do, yeah. I mean, like my wife had to go out of town this morning. She left at about 9 o'clock, and don't take anything for granted, seriously, because you could, and that's why it wipes people out, right? Because they assume that people you love are going to be around forever, right? So it's like, we are temporal. It's you know what I mean? It is appointed to all men to die, and that's not even the worst thing that can happen. Dying once is not the worst thing that happened, contrary to popular belief. Dying twice is the worst thing that can happen. Having that book opened at the judgment seat and your name's not in it, that's what we need to prioritize.
Right. Sadly, the reality of what you're talking, there can be sudden loss of life in a second in life. It's just the way it is. And my friend, and again, it's not macabre, but there's an important message here. My old friend Anne Rule, God love her, the greatest true crime writer in history, really, 34 bestsellers and stuff, and her favorite word was synchronicity, kind of what goes around comes around. But there's something in one of these phone conversations I had with her that I never forgot, because she dealt with, can you imagine, because she would talk with all the, in just one book in particular, Green River Killer, there were like 54 gals killed, whatever, and this was Seattle area, when it was a nice town, but Anne had said the saddest thing, because she had to talk with the parents. And this is afterwards and after tragedy. And so many of them, she said, had said their biggest regret is they all remembered the last time they said goodbye and what the circumstances were. And she said, without exception, these parents and these sisters and these brothers regretted the rest of their life that they could have done something different, or that they didn't appreciate them before they left the door. And I just never forgot that, because, again, it's a little bit macabre, but when you do apply it to your life, you're going, really, all we have is today. It is not, thank you very much, a cliche. All we have is today, and tomorrow's a blessing from there, and tomorrow's just another today, so we've mastered today's, so there you go.
Do you know what I put on myself? Okay, so this is how I see it for me. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that I don't. If this is my last day or my last hour, right? You don't know the day or the time. You just don't.
Sure.
I don't want anybody in my family that I love or regular listeners. I want them to I want them to be really happy if that happens to me, because I don't want them to have any doubt whatsoever that I ran the race. You know what I'm saying? And that's I think that would be selfish of myself if my sons did not ever hear me pray for them, if my wife didn't hear me praying every day. And I tell everybody on the show, try to get in 20 minutes a day if you can, right? Yeah. Make sure you're born of the water and the Spirit. Make sure, right? Not just for yourself, but because you don't want to shake their faith, right? You want to give them an example of somebody that when I go, they say, yeah, I'm positive that Mike made it. Like that's what I put on myself anyway.
Yep. And it's just like football or sport. It comes down to just blocking and tackling the basics. The Bible, one God, every day, knowing every day could be your last. It still comes down to the most simple of things, It's really good to have these chats because, as they say, as kind of fatalist as you will, talking about stuff like this, it's so important. It's so important to know. It really is so important.
I don't think it's fatalist. I think it's just reality. It's just dealing with reality.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
Lord, teach us to number our days. Exactly, like how many people have you ever known that thought they were going to live forever and that they were going to be young and good looking forever and they acted like it? You know what I mean? I've never been there myself.
They're not like us, Mikey. Now, they're not older and just gorgeous like you and me, right?
With that, it's time for commercials.
Wow. Where's the time going today? I feel like I'm sitting around a campfire with my dear friend and pastor, Mike.
It's moving quick, and I'm very thankful for that.
Oh, it's great. Praise God. Seriously. That's what it's all about, man.
When we get back, I want to get into this thing with Captain McCormick here because there's some things I want to add to it. Actually, if you want to pull that post up that he made about this guy that freaked out when asked for credentials if he actually had a Purple Heart. If you could grab that, Greg, to read at the beginning. I want to get into that a little bit. We'll be back right after this, everybody.
You want to wake up refreshed, like you slept on a cloud. Get yourself the very best in bedding supplies today. You deserve it. Go to MyPillow.com. And don't forget our very special promo code, Mojo50, for incredible savings.
At Meakin Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Meakin Designs. And if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logo designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Meakin Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help you design and create that special gift for any occasion or engrave your personal or business logo on just about any product. View our designs at RomikaDesigns.com or simply email us with your ideas. We specialize in custom design and would be honored to have the opportunity to discuss it with you. Call us at 817-400-4040, email info@RomikaDesigns.com, or visit us on the web at RomikaDesigns.com.
5 major food distributors have suffered explosions at food processing and storage facilities in the last few months. 20 more facilities have been destroyed by fires over the last 4 months. War in Ukraine drags on and holds the looming threat of nuclear escalation. U.S. inflation is officially reported above 8%. Mobs of people are whipped into frenzy by an increasingly unstable class of political elites. We live in interesting times. Political, economic, and financial collapse are all very real threats to our way of life. If the worst happens, make sure you and your loved ones are prepared with emergency food and supplies from preparewithmojo50.com. That's preparewithmojo50.com. Coffee lovers everywhere now have the opportunity to do their part to save the planet with Al Gore's lab-grown coffee substitute. We, here at Coffee Drinkers for Climate Change, believe this is a terrible idea. While man-bun-wearing, soy latte-loving poodle walkers everywhere are in love with the eco-friendly lab-grown sadness water. Coffee drinkers for climate change want to see the sea levels rise. And for New York City to join the lost city of Atlantis, 12,000 leagues beneath the sea.
American Pride Roasters, historically great coffee. Every pot brewed is an eco-disaster 100 times greater than the Fukushima extinction level event. So order yours today and do your part to hasten the end of the planet. You don't want to live forever, do you? AmericanPrideRoasters.com. That's AmericanPrideRoasters.com.
How dare you?
We dare. We dare.
Flat Earth, the moon landing, JFK, 5G, Biden won the election. Hey, lovelies, does anyone have any new conspiracy theories? Because all the ones I know have come true. Join me, Ria Bow, here on Sunday Long Live Radio, live every Sunday of the year, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard, 10 a.m. UK, and 9 p.m. New South Wales. I'll see you Sunday.
Americanuck Radio.
I would say the world's most underrated radio shows. Americanuck Radio. This guy, Mike Filip, is brilliant. I listen to him every day. Love your show. I really do. I'm a huge fan. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Americanuck Radio.
Well, God loves the outlaw, but he doesn't love the sin. Well, God loves the outlaw, but he doesn't love the sin. Just open up your heart to Jesus and he'll surely let you in.
Americanuck Radio.
Well, God loves the outlaw.
Welcome back to the last segment of Hour 2 of Americanuck Radio. I'm Mike Filip, and it's, boy, what a fast show today. This has gone really quickly. Really great to hang out with my friend Greg Meakin. He's a humble guy, and we love Greg, and our listeners really like him too. So this issue of stolen valor, I gotta say, Greg, I was very naive on the issue at one time. I really was, because... But what happened was I found this YouTube channel. It was very popular at the time, of Senior Chief Don Shipley. Senior Chief Don Shipley was a Navy SEAL, and not just a Navy SEAL, but somebody that he trained Navy SEALs, and he sat on a board that would review actions that where they could actually take somebody's trident away from them, like they could be kicked out of the SEALs, right? And so he was very knowledgeable on it, and he kind of got going down the road of stolen valor to the point where people all over the country would be contacting him with phony SEAL claims, and we'll get into that a little bit, what I learned about it, and it's actually more nefarious than you think. I thought, you know what, they're pretending to be a Navy SEAL so that their buddies will think they're cool, or they get a dinner discount or something, you know what I mean? Or pick up a girl, whatever, right? No, there's more to it than that. But if you could get into that post by Captain James McCormick about the Purple Heart thing, and then I'll get into what I learned about the whole thing, and I think you'll be surprised. But go ahead, Greg.
Sure. I have it right in front of me.
Yeah.
As you confirmed, Mike, Captain James McCormick, just a legendary guy. We had a beautiful show last week with him, he and his Purple Heart folks, and all the military families around the country. God bless them.
Yep.
He's on radio tonight, Mike. He's on radio tonight, 7 o'clock
every
my
Friday.
time, 8 o'clock. Yep, very cool. Anyhow, I'm going to read this post. This is from a few days ago, but this is responding to a big issue they had going on. It's all the interesting stuff's always behind the scenes, isn't it, Mikey? You know,
yep.
Secrets on the inside. You know, James McCormick. It is a shame that I even have to post this, but had a news crew contact me about a man claiming to have a Purple Heart, and we could not verify his award. And when asked to simply verify it, he threw a fit. Bottom line, no legitimate Purple Heart recipient cares if you ask to give them proof of their award. The legitimate veterans out there are getting fed up with the frauds and fakes, trying to get a few minutes of fame telling lies to boost their egos and take advantage of good, patriotic people who often buy meals, drinks, etc. when they meet veterans.
Yep.
This happens every year.
Yep.
And I see more and more frauds claiming Purple Hearts now than I've seen in a long time. Some of you know that a man and his wife have been extremely mad at me and others with military phonies who expose these jokesters. These clowns have spent the last few years stalking me over her husband and being exposed and publicly called out over claiming to be combat wounded and having 2 Purple Hearts. Truth is, he never even served outside the U.S., was never part of any secret missions, black ops, or any other BS they still try to claim. So don't be fooled by these frauds. They will go to extreme lengths to try and gain benefits, money and fame, and they want to do all they can to delegitimize the legitimate veterans and organizations that work very hard to maintain the integrity of service. No legitimate veteran will ever be upset over providing proof of honorable service. So please don't be afraid to ask for it. Captain James McCormick.
Yeah. So my little trip down this road started back in our GCN days, like I said, by reaching out to Senior Chief Don Shipley. And he's a gruff guy, and, he's a tough old guy. And it was funny to me. I found it humorous because he would go and confront these guys to their face, right? Or he would phone them, and like they got so many claims coming in across the country, and this is the most, like, the Navy SEALs are the most targeted,
impersonated,
right? Impersonated, yeah, because there's this lore, like they're magic, they're ninjas, they, you know what I mean, like. Yep. And so there's like a prestige that goes with it. And, I would watch him call these guys, ask them for their BUDS class, the number, the year that they served. He's got all the records. He's already looked it up. He knows that they never did, right?
Right.
And
right.
it was always the same, right? Always the same. They all... the reason you can't find my records is because everything we did was so secret. Right?
Right.
And here's a guy that sits on a board where they, like, adjudicate cases where you could potentially lose your trident, right? And he's obviously pretty hooked in. And the other thing that they would always do, he has to watch every single movie about Navy SEALs that comes out, because they all grab a movie script. They'll quote things from G.I. Jane. They'll quote things from the movie Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen. That's one of the biggest ones right there. Oh, yeah, we went into this, right? And they give the story out of the movie, right? And I thought it was kind of humorous because he would get these guys just squirming. And by the time that it got to him, usually it was a case where the people around this individual were pretty sure that he wasn't. Like, and that's what I thought, right? Like, this is somebody that feels inadequate in their own life, like they're a loser and they need to take on this other identity because then I'm something. You know what I mean? Then then my life is important and people respect me because nobody would if they knew the real me. And I'm sure that has something to do with it as well, right? But bottom line, it's a lie. Bottom line. Right. And when I had him on the show, we were talking about this because, like, I had him on when that situation with Eddie Gallagher came up, all that, right? Anyway, he said, like, I asked him basically that line of question. Like, really? What's, why go to this? I get it that you were a SEAL and you don't want people claiming what you did when they hadn't done it. There's a certain amount of pride there in getting through that training, right? Because most people don't. And so he said to me, he said, Mike, you're a little naive, okay? I don't mean to insult you, but you are definitely naive on the issue. He said, lots of them it's a case where they are using that prestige, he said, a lot of times to get near children.
Oh, wow.
Because their parents just figure they can trust them. You are honorable. You're good. You would never do no wrong or besmirch the honor of the SEAL name. So he said that's one of the things that we run into quite a bit, is that they're doing it with the intent of getting into proximity and alone with children. He said the other thing that they run into quite a bit, he said that by the time these guys get exposed, lots of times they have been married for 20 years and have children and a wife, that this is all that they know of this person, and their whole life and their marriage and their children, the people they work with, is all completely built on a lie. Think about how damaging that would be. And think about how desperate some of these individuals would be to keep that quiet when they've built their whole life around it, and their wife and children, that's all they know. It's like you could be dealing with a potential murderer when you go to expose them. He said it's dangerous.
Oh, and I mean, it happens in real life. This story just jumped to me. I worked at a Ford dealership decades ago. There was a guy, nice guy. He was a salesman, older guy, blah, blah, cowboy hat. So like you're kind of describing, you know, the 20-year life, couple of kids, blah, blah. A local 4-H guy, here we go, and nice guy. And then for some reason, I left the dealership, and I followed up years ago and said, oh, and I mean, that wasn't really that guy. I said, what are you talking about? You know what he was? He was an escapee from Oklahoma Penitentiary. This guy had been on the run for like 20 years. He was under an assumed name. I worked with him for 2 years, Mike.
And you would have never picked up, like, was that good at it that you didn't pick up on it at all?
You'd never know. You'd never know. And this guy's a convict. It creeped me out because I was saying, wait a minute, because this guy, I befriended and stuff. He was a nice guy, local, small town. And it creeped me out because I realized, wait a minute, this guy's a totally different name, you know, from an Oklahoma penitentiary. Are you kidding me? So anything can happen. It can happen right in front of our eyes, as they say.
Did you ever find out what he was actually convicted of?
Oh, I really don't. I'm out of my lane even saying, but I think it was pretty bad. Okay, I'm not even going to start any rumors there. I think it was serious stuff, guy.
It was serious. Yeah, okay. It wasn't parking tickets.
No.
Yeah.
No, this was either a life or something serious. So and it's almost worth a phone call to follow up on that. But you're just right in front of your eyes, and that's what all this identity theft and blah blah blah. And again, not getting to human trafficking, but stuff can happen right in front of our eyes right now, and it's just not the people we think we're talking to.
Yeah,
it's kind of creepy to me actually. It just means beware.
I walked into a bank several years ago. And it was after hours, and you know where you can go in the lobby and use the ATM, but the bank's shut, right?
Yep.
I walked into this bank after hours, and there was this senior citizen woman. She probably was in her 80s. She was very small, and she wanted to use. So I come walking in. I'm a young guy. She don't know me. I don't know her, right? She says to me, "Excuse me, could you help me?" And I said, "What do you need?" She said, "I need to withdraw money and for my grandchildren, and I don't know how to use this thing. So like if I give you the card and the number and everything, would you help me pull that money out?" And I said to her, "Ma'am," I said, "Yes, I will, but you have to promise me something, please, that you'll never, ever do this again." Because I said, "Listen, ma'am, I would never hurt you, and I don't want to rip you off." And I wasn't even living for God at the time, but I wouldn't like knock out an old lady and steal her bank card. But I told her, like, there are people out there, you have to understand, ma'am, that will, like, they'll hurt you after you give them the card and your number. So, like, could you please promise me I will help you, okay? But you have to promise me that next time you do this, you bring somebody, or you go during banking hours when it's open, because like you're gonna get in trouble, right? If you keep doing this. And she understood, and she said, "Thank you, yes, and thank you so much for helping me." And she wanted to reward me, and I'm like, "No, I didn't. No. You just like that. That's not happening, right? Like, no, this is not a heroic act. This is just how it should be." But yeah, and when we got into it with the stolen valve, it actually gets into so many other areas. There was a scam going around in again with seniors where. Right. Okay, so somebody that worked at a TD Bank in a city that I lived in was saying that they had this guy coming in and then going out and then coming in and going out. Well, what it was he had contacted the senior citizen and told them that he worked for the bank and that there was a discrepancy with their account and that they were in trouble. But if you meet me outside the front of the bank, I work there, and I'll go in and work this out for you. You just have to meet me outside. And I thought to myself, number one, are you mentally handicapped? Like, what's your problem that you would fall for that? But they were somebody that they could be taken advantage of, and they were. And so this is another thing that we teach our kids in the church here. All the time. I mention this almost every Sunday. There are traps out there. There are predators out there, and you need to understand that. And you need to live for God. You need to be under prayer. You need to have angels watching over you, because this is the world we live in. There are predators out there.
That lady at the ATM, she got her angel, though you were her angel that day.
Well, I mean, God obviously had his eye on her. I have no doubt about that whatsoever, because I was at the place at that time and able to explain to her, please don't ever ask alone a young male. I was probably 30, and at that time I was in pretty good shape. I wasn't as thin as I am now, but anyway. That could have gone really bad, and I have no doubt that God was watching over her, but he also had me warn her not to do it again, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So don't let anyone tell you that people don't prey on our elderly, because they do. I'll tell you what, and specifically, because it comes down, I really like boots on the ground, actual stories. I kid you not, I'm saying, if you don't think there's scamming of the elderly, think again. I remember I was a finance guy in a Honda dealership, and this is not that long ago. This is in the last decade. And you buy a brand new Honda, brand new Toyota, whatever. You got your happy 3-year warranty and plus, and you have these. There was this company, and we're seeing them a lot nowadays advertising on national TV, where they're asking people, of course, to pay money for extended warranties. Yeah. It's a 101 business, blah, blah, blah. But this was different because, and I'm talking maybe a couple of dozen of our local Honda brand new owners, and I'm talking bought their Honda in the last year, Mike. They were on some database where this warranty company was calling them and telling them, you don't have any warranty. You need to buy ours. And it was like $2,000-3,000 bucks. It was just, and these little folks, because older people are trusting Mike the way we can be, and we should be, and we were in the 1950s. But it's now time to beware. I analyzed this because I had people one after another come in and say, no. You got what from Honda. You got what Honda promises. You have a 3-year bumper to bumper. You don't have to worry about a thing. You don't have to buy any warranties. And I actually intervened at one point. Well, for one customer, she was just upset. These are people in their 70s and 80s, Mike.
Yeah.
And I called the warranty company. I said, give me your printout here. I called the warranty company right in front of her. And it didn't work out well for them. And unfortunately, we were 60, 70-hour-a-week guys. If I didn't have a full-time job, I might have gone after that warranty company or something. But I'm seeing it. It sounds weird, but I get creeped out almost seeing warranties for sale online, on TV and online. I just kind of get creeped out because I know the inside scoop of that industry. It's not pointing any fingers. But you usually see these older people, Mike, and just ordering something online over your phone or your tablet. You gotta watch carefully. How are these older folks going to understand the traps of online marketing and upsells and auto pays monthly? And You know how it goes. And I'm saying I can barely navigate it through myself. And I'm an upper manager in the auto industry. I can barely manage it myself by watching out for the scams. So buyer beware, as they say. Where's the time gone today, Mikey?
Yeah, we're getting close to the end of hour 2 already, boys. That's something, hey? Yep. And then Greg, with AI, you've got these accounts out there with these young chickie poos that do not exist. Like, they're not even real people. I was thinking about that, though, and that's actually, even without the video AI, it's actually been happening for a very long time. With dating scams and things like that. It's always been that way.
The internet changed everything. I don't care what anyone says. Again, 100,000-foot view. The debauchery's been happening for thousands of years, ever since the beginning of mankind. But I believe that everything changed with the internet and social media. Everything changed in terms of being exponential, microscope on really our debaucheries and the dark side of the man that was there. It mainstreamed so that just wacko people can join any group right now, and the dark web and all that other stuff. So I think the internet changed it, at least not only illustrated it, because it's always been there, but really exponentially is growing that awful world.
And then you have people like my neighbors who came over yesterday, and I was talking to my neighbor, and his beagle come in our house and threw up on our carpet.
And it brings you right down to earth, like, when you have babies at home, like you raised 2 boys, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you get too serious about anything or whatever, then they just throw up on you.
They do that,
You can't be classy with a baby puking on you. It's like, I don't care if you're wearing an Armani suit. If you're walking downtown Montreal and you slip on the ice on your butt, you can't look classy, okay?
That's actually the ultimate funny, is a dignified-looking person slipping on ice. Especially if they're wearing a suit.
The briefcase goes everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That could be a spectator sport. I'd sit and watch that, Mikey.
That was one of my favorite TV commercials of all time. It was just that was the commercial. This guy wearing a suit and a trench coat with a briefcase comes walking out a door and just goes like feet in the air. And I laughed for like half an hour. I don't know why. It was so funny though.
Well, the Dick Van Dyke Show, for all the old folks out there, it would start with him falling over a footstool. Remember that? Walking in the beginning every single episode, I'm saying, God, you're watching this guy go through an accident, a tragedy every day, and you're laughing at him. The Dick Van Dyke Show. That's for all the old
Is he still alive?
I don't know, boy. In the inside scoop about Van Dyke, he had a severe alcohol problem. I don't know if he kicked it or whatever, but I honestly don't know. I'm out of my lane there.
A lot of stars that happens to. I was reading about Phil Collins, and he had so many hit songs, and so he had so many royalty checks coming in that he literally didn't have to do anything the rest of his life. He just, like, at any time somebody played, you know what I mean, one of his songs, he was getting money from all over the world. Just from airplay and royalties, or a commercial, or a company used just 20 seconds of one of his songs. And so he got this beach house, this huge, and just drank himself into to where he's so wasted away now that he's on his last tour, but he can't play the drums anymore because his bones are dissolving.
Oh yeah.
And so he's on his last tour, but with I don't think it's with Genesis. Maybe it's with some of the people that were in Genesis. But he's just sitting on a stool and barely able to sing a lot of his old songs, kind of going into the sunset, right?
Mike, no matter where you go, there you are. And if a guy like Phil Collins, whatever, it just doesn't matter how rich you are or what you got going, man. If you got demons or something's going to take you down, it's going to take you down.
No,
it's sad, but it's sad, but it's true. And it comes full circle, doesn't it? Just one God. Got to believe in God every day. Got to every single day, and go beyond that. Obviously, go beyond. Yep.
Every day. Yeah, I've been in low places in my life, and I know what that's like. I also know what it's like to have Holy Ghost joy. And when you're out fishing for men and finding lost coins and watching God, we talked about some things that are kind of depressing today, but let me tell you, I've like the families in our church, I've seen them get into things that look like insurmountable problems, and God will give me a word for them, or they humble themselves and confess before Him, and we go to Him and pray about it. I've seen God do miracles in people's lives. So no matter how bad things look, anybody that's watching this, it doesn't matter how final or bad it looks. Jesus can fix it. That's it. I've seen it over and over again.
And when you talk content to this show, you and I, it's glorious, Mike. We never know where we're going to go
That's
on
what
a show
I like
like
about
this.
it.
But it turned out really, really cool. But on the kind of the macabre side,
1 minute, buddy, quick.
Yeah. But on that side, again, we're just living in a fallen world. We have to deal with it one way or another. And so you just, again, continue walking with God and working on it every single day.
Dick Van Dyke's alive. He's 97. He crashed his Lexus. That's all I know. It's thank you, Bo in Oklahoma. He gave us the Dick Van Dyke report. Thank you for listening to Mojo 50, everybody. Thank you for listening to us on Rumble or WBN 324 or wherever you are. Have a blessed weekend. Find a church with truth and power and a good pastor, and get in the presence of the Lord this week, and we'll be back for 9th Hour Prayer.
This is the seditious, rabble-rousing, liberty-loving, home of fun, entertaining, and compelling talk. Mojo.
Every journey can use an experienced guide, and your educational journey is no different. At Arizona State University, we're with you from day one to graduation and beyond. Our 300-plus programs are designed specifically for online learning, with state-of-the-art technology and personalized support services to empower your success. Find your next journey at ASU, ranked #1 in innovation for 8 consecutive years. Visit us at asuonline.asu.edu to learn more.
Meet Barkley. When Barkley smells gas, he leaves fast. When Barkley hears hissing coming from a gas appliance, he leaves fast. When Barkley sees dirt or water shooting from the ground, he leaves fast. Barkley then calls 911 and Southwest Gas from a safe location.
Did that dog just grab a phone and dial 911?
Gas lines can be buried anywhere, so remember to call 911 and Southwest Gas.